Hello and welcome to Go Ballistic, where it is sure to be a huge week in Scottish football, not least because, look who's back, he's decided to join us, Roger Hannah is back. Now as you can see, we've both caught the sun. This is definitely only a colour you can get from the back gardens of Glasgow and East Renfrewshire. You, I think, were in more sunnier climes than that. Good time away?
Yes, it was nice. I'm delighted to be back though for the run-in, Jonathan. It's always good.
Absolutely. Now you're coming back into a huge story, not necessarily the time of season where managers are coming and going, but that certainly looks to be the case just now. Story at Sunsport have been all over. Derek McInnes to Hearts. He himself a bit tight-lipped on it. He did suggest yesterday, he'd heard there was probably a bit of contact between the clubs, and then obviously Robert Grieve and Gareth Law all over it, saying basically today is going to be the day, the approach is going to go in. This looks like it's going to happen, doesn't it?
This will happen. Derek McInnes will be the next manager of Hearts. We've seen approaches going for Derek McInnes in his career in the past. I remember Sunderland having a tickle at him when he was Aberdeen manager. Rangers obviously had a high-profile move for him when he was Aberdeen manager, and he turned the two of those down. Derek McInnes won't turn this down. Derek McInnes will take the job at Tynecastle. He has done a terrific job at Kilmarnock. That was actually his first game, Jonathan. They played Queen of the South at Palmerston in the Championship in a January afternoon. It was horrible. And he's taken them from there all the way to Europe. He's had a bit of a hiccup this season. You find that with teams when they're playing those European games at the start of the season, it is hard to combine it all. He's had injuries, he's had problems there. He's kept them up. That win at the weekend ensures they'll play in the top flight again next season. And I think it's just natural timing for everybody. It's good for Hearts, it's good for Derek McInnes, and it allows Kilmarnock a reset and go again.
Now, obviously, Jamestown Analytics involved again for Hearts. It says the data has identified him as the number one choice. I think you can probably say in this instance, you don't really need the data to tell you that Derek McInnes is probably the obvious choice here for Hearts. Do you think arguably he should have been the choice last time they appointed a manager as well?
Well, certainly Neil Chrisley shouldn't have been the choice the last time they appointed a manager. I would love to sit and watch them crunch the numbers, this Jamestown Analytics, whether they're looking for a manager, whether they're looking for a right back, whether they're looking for a centre forward, and just see what the computer says. Because with Neil Chrisley they get it wrong, Elton Cabangu, it'll look as if they get it right, and they've probably get it wrong. So if the data says Derek McInnes, maybe the data's learning quite quickly about Scottish football.
You would think so now. For McInnes himself, a crack at a bigger job once again. It's one that he's going to be chomping at the bit to get into and feel that he can really succeed here, won't he?
Absolutely, because he's a very good manager and he is ambitious. He will still have ambitions in his career. He's only in his early 50s. I don't imagine Derek will see the Hearts job as being the pinnacle of his career. I would think Derek might look and say, if I can do a good job at Hearts over the next 3 or 4 years, then maybe there's a chance to go back down south. Maybe the Scotland job could fall for me at one stage. So he will be eager to get into Hearts, to re-establish Hearts where they should be in the top half of the Premiership, pushing to win silverware, and then see where that takes him.
Well, just keep across all our platforms. We've been all over that story since the beginning. Plenty more to come on it as the days go on this week. Going to move quickly, so keep an eye on that. Now, as you mentioned, he's officially led Kilmarnock to safety. They will be in the Premiership again next season. They beat Dundee 3-2 in a thriller at the weekend. Now, before we get into the actual football around the bottom of the table, where it's getting very tasty indeed, we've got to talk about the VAR chaos at Rugby Park at the weekend. I don't think it's something that we've seen anywhere else before. Just for anyone that's not seen it, I will have to actually look at the iPad for this because so much happened. But basically, Simon Murray gets shoved in the edge of the box by Kyle Vassell, who's literally just come on. The officials on the field, the linesman referee Don Robertson unmoved. Bill Leckie's written his column on this as well. A minute, I think it is, goes by. Nobody really knows what's going on. Then Don Robertson makes his wee sort of screen sign, heads over the screen to find there's nothing there for him to watch. Then he stands around, there's that picture of him with his hands behind his back, just looking quite awkward, and nobody knows what's going on at all. A water break happens, then Don Robertson's back on, the game starts again, and everyone's wondering what's going on. So basically what happened is, the VAR's called him over to look at a potential penalty, and the time he's gone from there to the sideline, the VAR's gone, oh actually, it's outside the box, so you can't actually look at this. It's a shambles. VAR has a lot of work to be done here, isn't it? It's incredible.
The clue's in the title. We just say VAR for ease. It's video assistant referee. Gavin Duncan's there to assist Don Robertson. It hasn't assisted Don Robertson. He's made him look foolish. Now, I've watched it several times. And some angles you think it's in the box, some angles you think it's on the line, which is in the box, some angles maybe outside. Don Robertson should have looked at it. There is no doubt. If Gavin Duncan thinks it could be a penalty, and I think it could be a penalty,
definitely,
let Don Robertson look at it, because he's the referee, he has the final say. So the VAR shouldn't be there to say, Don, I'm not letting you look at that. There should be a protocol there where Don Robertson says, if you think I should, I'm looking at it. I'm the referee, I'm looking at it. And they need to sharpen up that protocol. Really interested to hear what Willie Collum has to say when he's on his show, because I think that makes the referees look bad.
It does. And
although not as bad as Rory McKenzie looked in that game. When he missed his chance, he booted the advertising hoarding and get his foot caught in the advertising hoarding, and plays raging on behind him and he can't get his foot out.
Did they not get Don Robertson over the screen for that one as well, maybe? But yeah, certainly work to be doing. I think you're right. Willie Collum will be as angry as anyone over this situation. The work he's been putting in to try and be transparent and all of that around it, then for something like that to happen. So we'll watch and see intently what's going to come in that. But yeah, so at the bottom of the table, goodness me, it's getting crazy again. Dundee a couple of points above that playoff. Ross County now dragged right back into it after losing to St Johnstone, who we've had dead and buried on here for weeks.
I was there on Saturday. I've seen County a couple of times in the last 3 weeks. They've now lost 7 in the spin. You wonder where they're going to get a result from. Ronan Hill thought he'd get an equaliser late on. He was offside. They probably didn't deserve it. St Johnstone were the better team. St Johnstone deserved to win. Wednesday night's now fascinating. Can St Johnstone take that positivity and get any kind of result at Tynecastle? Can County suddenly get a result at Dens Park against a Dundee side who know if they win the game they're safe? So there's plenty in that for Dundee as well. And you wonder if it's going to go to a Super Sunday shootout on the last day of the bottom 6.
Well, it'd be great for us, obviously. Not really for the teams. I'm sure they'd all rather be. Well, St Johnstone certainly would like to still be in with a mix, but Dundee, as you say, could be out of it if things go their way this midweek.
See which one of your colleagues who's going to Ross County v Motherwell shares your optimism about the last Sunday.
We'll see. Now, obviously, whoever ends up in that playoff will be taking on either Partick Thistle or Livingston. Partick, Brian Graham inspired Partick as ever. Get past Ayr on Friday. Interesting comments from Scott Brown after that one. Furious probably doesn't cut it, saying they didn't feel his team were trying to win it at the end of the game, sort of hinting he would consider his future. Do you think that he actually will do that, or is this more just a kind of heat of the moment thing? The emotions maybe got the better of him there.
I would like to hope it was a heat of the moment thing. He would be full of optimism after the win at Firhill on the Tuesday night. They had opportunities in the first 5 minutes before Brian Graham scored his first goal. He had a couple of opportunities to get ahead in the second leg, and you would have thought that would have quelled Partick. That might have been enough to get Ayr through. They didn't perform the way they have. The season's kind of petered out a little bit. George Oakley's goals have dried up. There's been injuries. Michael Devlin can't get on the pitch. They missed George Stanger again at the weekend. They've had issues. So I would hope, given the improvement in the side that Scott Brown and Stephen Whittaker have inspired over the last 18 months, that they go again in the summer. He will lose players. Clark and Nagbear will go back to Celtic. McKinnon will go back to Rangers. Jay Henderson will go back to Ross County. But that's the life of a championship manager. Every manager in that second tier, be it from Neil Lennon to whoever, will be facing that kind of challenge. And I hope Scott Brown, when the emotions die down a little bit, I hope he goes again. He'll be back by the chairman, David Smith, and a third place finish for Ayr United in that championship. From where Scott Brown inherited the team 18 months ago, he's done a good job.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see where he can take them with another gear at that, absolutely. Now, speaking of Brown, his 2 former clubs, Celtic and Hibs, went head-to-head at the weekend. Bit of an iffy start for Celtic. We ended up getting the job done, as they always seem to do. Reo Hatate, the man with the third goal there. Now, Sunsport had the story last week that Udinese have been looking at him. Colleague David Friel seems to think this could be the end of the road for Hatate this summer. Do you agree with that? Do you think he could be a player that moves on from Celtic?
The Celtic model, Jonathan, tends to see them sell somebody each year. And they've worked out really, really well. Last year it was Matt O'Reilly to Brighton, and Arnie Engels came in for less than half the money and has done well. The season before, Jota went, and he's now back, albeit he's fighting this bad injury now. So they tend to put one out each year. Now, you look at the squad just now, I think the most likely candidate to go would be Reo Hatate. I think he's more likely, even than Dyson Maeda, who scored 33 goals this season. 27 years of age. If Reo Hatate doesn't go now, then his value to Celtic as a selling club will probably drop. And the interest might drop. You know, if you get to 28 or 29, fewer teams are looking at you. So I just think everything might align this summer for Reo Hatate to go. He's still got a good whack of time in his contract to Celtic. Well, as they've done with O'Reilly and Jota, they'll be able to dictate the terms of a sale. But if Udinese come in, I could see that happening. And then Celtic need to do what they did with O'Reilly and Engels last summer. They will have, the recruitment department will have potential Hatate replacements lined up. Could one of them be Lennon Miller?
Another player Udinese have also been looking at themselves, so very interesting one there. And obviously over the other side of Glasgow, Rangers finally getting that home win under Barry Ferguson, 4-0. Yeah. Nico Raskin, the star man again for Rangers. Yeah. You know, Ferguson talking after the game, saying he sees a lot of himself in him, stuff like that. He's very much become Rangers' key man this season, the consistent performer. Yeah. I guess, you know, Ferguson was asked and didn't really answer yesterday, would he be the sort of player you'd build the team around next season? You can obviously see that he is a player that you would want to do that with, but I guess similarly, if an offer was to come in for Nico Raskin, a sizable offer, do you think Rangers have to take it?
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, that's, we just discussed Celtic and Hatate. The old firm clubs are selling clubs, whether we like it or not. And Rangers have tried long and weary to build up this trading model. The only players have sold for any amount of money, really, Nathan Patterson, Calvin Bassey went for decent money. That was 3 years ago.
Years ago now, yeah.
They now need to look at developing players. Now, a year ago, Philippe Clement said everyone was for sale, apart from Jack Butland. They wanted to build a team around Jack Butland. Well, look how that went. So, I don't think Rangers will be looking at building a team around anyone. If there is money coming in for Nico Raskin, who's ahead of Arnie Engels in the pecking order for the Belgian national team, is finishing the season really well, if they were to get a bid that was acceptable to the new owners, I think Raskin would go.
I think he'll go. Obviously, it'll be a blow to the fans, but as you say, they need to get that player trading model kicking into gear.
Find the next Nico Raskin.
Talking about it
just like we're talking about Celtic finding the next Reo Hatate.
And obviously, another exclusive that Robert Thompson this time, Saturday night, Rangers chasing Moutinho.
Yes.
On loan at Basel.
Yeah.
22 years old, £4 million they're looking at.
Maybe he is the new Nico Raskin.
Perhaps. But is that the sort of profile you expect Rangers to maybe look at going forward? That sort of age group, price range that they can then move on for a few years?
I would absolutely have thought so. I think that would be the kind of player they would look to do business with. It'd be interesting to see the kind of business to do. Can they get out of the Oscar Cortez deal? Because clearly now, you know, Barry Ferguson does not fancy him at all. Philippe Clement didn't really promote him into the team when he was, on the rare occasion he was fit. I don't think he's going to be the answer. Václav Černý, interesting words yesterday. Those were the first hints that I've read from Černý that he might consider staying if something could be done. I think that would be far more palatable to Rangers supporters than a Cortez deal. For
sure, now plenty in that to come. And just before you go and speak to Kris Boyd, obviously started talking about a manager. We'll finish it talking about manager. Stephen Robinson at St Mirren, another brilliant season for him in the club. Top 6 finish, gunning for Europe, might still get there. Story Sun Sport this weekend. English clubs sort of circling QPR and the Championship among them. Do you think the buddies face a battle to keep him this summer?
Yeah, very much so. I'm actually surprised they haven't reached this point earlier. He's done a terrific job. He's built a good squad. There's a good feel. You go to that training place at Ralston, there's a very good feel about the place. Players all got on very well. There's a good respect between them and the management team. I spoke a couple of weeks ago to Declan John, who had just signed a contract extension, and I was asking him, what made you stay? Was the manager key to it? And he said, the manager was key to it. He says, you can speak to the manager, and it's like speaking to one of your mates, rather than the gaffer. Yep. And he said, the whole place feels like that. And if Stephen Robinson can build that at St Mirren, I don't see any reason why he couldn't go down south and build it at a QPR or a Huddersfield. I certainly think he's done the work in Paisley that merits the opportunity for him to go elsewhere. No, absolutely, that'll be one to watch for sure as the days come and go. Roger, you're going to go and speak to Kris Boyd now, first time in a few weeks. Yes. Good to see him again after your return. Just before we hear that,
Don't forget, loads of great content across our YouTube channel. As always, Derek McGregor's brilliant one-on-one continues. Last week, a brilliant chat with Inverness boss Scott Kelleher. Here's a little bit of what you can get.
Somebody told me you met Al Pacino. Is that right?
Once upon a time,
you've kept that to yourself, haven't you? I'm being sarcastic.
I don't know if I've told many people
Tell
about
me
that, you know.
I think you're possibly the only manager in the SPFL who's met Al Pacino.
Well, I must admit.
He's a good friend of yours now, isn't he?
He is. I must admit, it's my claim to fame, you know. That's why we're laughing about it, you know.
Tell me all about it.
Oh, no, back
Tell
in the day,
viewers all about
the
it.
wife, she surprised me, taking me to New York for my 30th. It's one city I always wanted to see and that sort of thing. So, you know, I love the films and all that. So she planned it all around that. And it was brilliant. So we're in a line in the hotel and she wanted to go to a show and I says, listen, you pick, I'm not fussed sort of thing, you know. So she throws out there, oh, Al Pacino's in the theatre, and I says, you're having a laugh. She says, he's playing in the Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare. I wasn't the brightest in school. So I says, what's Shakespeare? I says, I don't have a clue what's going on, you know. So we've gone to, the show was over 3 hours long. We've been on the go all day, knackered. We get there, you know, and the tickets weren't cheap, let me tell you, you know. It's Al Pacino, you know, so.
Was that the only thing keeping you awake?
I'll get to that in a minute. So we've gone to the show and it was an hour and a half, then it was a rest and it was an hour and a half, but we got in there, I must have been in there 10, 15 minutes and I'm watching it and I've fallen asleep. Absolutely conked out, she's gone off the head, cracked up, you know, managed to wake up, watch a bit of it, didn't have a clue what was going on, don't know anything about Shakespeare or anything, and then we left at the end of the night and the wife says, she's fair play to her, like she says, come on, we'll go round the back and see him. And I'm like, oh no, that's not for me, that sort of thing. Let's get back to the hotel. She says, you might regret it, you know. And I says, all right, come on, we'll give it a wee bash. Round the back, and out he comes out the stage door and that, and fair play, he took the time, you know. Honestly, I'm making out as if I'm all the way from Scotland to see you, Al. Do you know what I mean?
Did he ask you for a photo?
I did, to be fair. Photo was there, everything, you know.
Kel's nice to see you.
Brilliant, hope it's all going well in Inverness. Aye. But, oh no, it was brilliant. A great experience. To say you met somebody like that was phenomenal, you know.
Was it?
Well, we can head down to the green fields of Ayrshire. Sun Sports' Kris Boyd is with us this morning. Boyd, it's turning into a potential managerial merry-go-round. We thought it would be a quiet end to the season after the split, but there could be changes at Hearts, Kilmarnock, Rangers, St Mirren. Goodness knows who else. We need to start with your pal Derek McInnes. You were with him at Ibrox yesterday. Surely he told you off camera what's going on.
He definitely didn't. You know, I think, to be honest, having listened to Derek speak after the game for Kilmarnock on Saturday after another fantastic victory against Tony Docherty's Dundee, and then when he obviously came to do Sky yesterday, listen, he's been tight-lipped. I don't think that we know how these things play out, Roger, in terms of there's
he's looking to be the next Hearts manager, isn't he?
You would imagine he's going to be. I think that. I mean, he didn't come out and say I'm going to be the next Hearts manager. I think when you listen to him speak, when people are non-committal, and usually if you've not got anything on the go, you would say no, I'm not interested. No, it's not happening. No. Whereas I think in terms of the football world, everybody knows what's probably going to happen today or tomorrow. And to be honest, I mean, we're still sitting here speculating right now, but if we actually look at if he has to get the job, Roger, I think it would be a fantastic appointment for Heart of Midlothian. You look at Hearts, for me, third biggest club in the country. There's obviously going to go down. They're obviously going to go down a different route now in terms of the analytics, the analytical data that they're going to use to take the club forward. And for me, I think Derek has shown over a period of time now he's more than capable of asking questions of our big two. There is no doubt that given proper resources, he's shown it with Aberdeen that he can get that bracket below. We look at if it is Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, chuck a Dundee United into there as well. That Derek can finish the best of the rest of them, but I don't think Derek McInnes will take the Hearts job and think I want to just finish best of the rest. He will feel as if with the tools that's going to be at his disposal going through there, that he will have a chance. It might not be might not be soon, but given time to build and get to work over the summer. I mean, next season might be just a case of Hearts building towards what the project is longer term, because I think with things like this, it doesn't. I mean, it can happen overnight, but very rarely does it. And it'll take time to get it to a level where, bringing in players, I mean, I've been very vocal on it in the last few weeks, Roger. Everybody points to Brighton and the job that they've done in terms of bringing players in and moving them on. But, for me, I think there's closer links to Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium and what they've been able to achieve in the last couple of years. But it wasn't a quick fix, but it was improvement year after year after year. And that's where Hearts need to get to. And for me, Derek McInnes deserves another crack at it as well. I think when you look at his time at Aberdeen, when he was linked with the Rangers job, and you felt as if there was a big job in the horizon for Derek McInnes because of the job he had done at Aberdeen. Roger, I don't know what you think. Maybe did he stay at Aberdeen just a few seasons too long?
Listen, probably. You talk about a big job in the horizon for Derek. If Derek takes the Hearts job, and it is looking likely, we're recording this on Monday morning, it's looking likely he will be the next Hearts manager, does that put him out of the running for bigger jobs? The Rangers job's still vacant. The Scotland job could be vacant by the end of 2025, Kris. Is he throwing his lot in with Hearts for the long term now?
Well, I think for Derek, for me, you look at, because Steve Clarke's older, and he left at Kilmarnock and went and took the Scotland job, and obviously has done a fantastic job there. Reading between the lines, will Steve renew his contract with Scotland? I think that's highly unlikely, looking at it now, highly. And everybody was saying that Derek McInnes was going to be the next Scotland manager. But I don't think you can. I don't think you can put your life on hold or your career on hold, whatever way you want to look at it, Roger. I think that if the opportunity presents you to go and take up a challenge at a club that, let's be realistic, is only going to improve. It has to. It's only going to improve. And if you're part of the furniture within that helps a big club improve, then there will still be opportunities further down the line to whatever jobs become available, whether it's Scotland, Rangers, I don't know, maybe that
Down south,
maybe. But again, it's Derek going in and doing the job at Hearts to the best of his ability, and he's shown at Aberdeen he can, and even at Kilmarnock he can cause problems to our big two in Scotland.
What would then happen for Kilmarnock? Kilmarnock host Hearts at Rugby Park last day of the season on Sunday afternoon. Goodness knows, could Derek do 45 minutes in each dugout? What happens for Killie?
Somebody's told you that one.
Not at all. I've already had a text for Billy Bowie asking if he's due me compensation if they take you as the next Kilmarnock manager.
What did you say to him? I'll pay you to take him.
I said he hasn't got. There's not enough money in Ayrshire to let me release you for your deal. Those platinum handcuffs, boy, they're too tight. What about your old pal, though, Steven Naismith? He lives close to Billy Bowie in Ayrshire. He's available after doing quite a decent job at Hearts, some would say. Is it too much of putting two and two together to think Naisy is in the frame for Killie?
Well, I think he'll be in the frame. I think Stephen has admitted, over a period of time that he wants to get back to coaching, back to management. Kilmarnock's a club that, gave Stephen an opportunity in football. He took it and he went on for there, but he's always had great links with the football club. And I think that when you look at what Stephen done at Hearts, and for a period of time it was good. I think this start of the season, he'll admitted himself, there was probably a couple of things that he would have done differently. There was a couple of things where you're looking at Hearts as a football club and saying, be patient with me because I know that I will get this right. But ultimately in football management, you don't get time. That's the harsh reality of it. But for me, I look at Naisy and I think he's dusted himself down. He'll be ready to go again. He's I've done the William Hill podcast with him a few times as well. He seems to be in a good place in his life right now. I don't know how that can be possible sitting next to Gordon Duncan every week, right enough, but you do it yourself. But I think for Naisy, there might be something there, and for me, it would be a good opportunity for Steven Naismith. But he was linked with St Mirren as well, and obviously Stephen Robinson's been linked with moves away this week. back down south. So, there might be, as you touched on there, a merry-go-round, a manager merry-go-round. Robbie Nielsen's another one who is, back. Stuart Kettlewell, I know it didn't finish well for him at his time at Motherwell, but he on the overall on the he done okay. There'll be names appear that you probably wouldn't expect, but you look at, especially Kilmarnock's last few appointments have been experienced managers. Whether Billy and the board want to go down a different route, I'm not quite sure. I mean, only they can answer that. But I think Steven Naismith, if he's ready to go back in, then it could be a great opportunity for him. It could be because, as you say, lives close to it, he's got links with the football club, and I know that doesn't go for anything, but it does give you a slight advantage knowing the environment, knowing what's the pressures and the demands of the local community. Because I know that Kilmarnock, people might look at it and think that Kilmarnock, it might be seventh, eighth biggest in Scotland. I roughly, there's a loads of them round about the same. But to the people of Kilmarnock and round about Ayrshire, they're a huge football club. It means so much to so many people. So being able to understand that and get the connection with the fans goes a long, long way for me. I've seen it before, even when successful managers have came in, but people have, questioned their commitment to the local area as such. Jim Jeffries was a prime example. There was always this notion that because Jim was from the East Coast and Billy, that there wasn't that real togetherness, that real, with the community of Kilmarnock. It was a difficult period because Kilmarnock had moved training grounds, they went to Glasgow, and everybody felt as if, you want to get back, it was closer to Edinburgh, but it was nonsense. For me, I think that Jim Jeffries was an unbelievable manager for Kilmarnock. But you then, you fast forward, a period of time, and Steve Clark's obviously got his Ayrshire roots as well. So, I think for Stephen, it would be a huge, huge opportunity if he's to get that job. And for me, if he was, I think it would be one that he would take. Because when you listen to him, I think he's ready to have another crack at it. And don't forget, Roger, he'll have learned a lot from that period of time at Hearts. He'll have learned a lot because it's your first job, and you think that get into management, but even the process of being sacked and how to deal with people and how to deal with a group of players for a period of time when things are going good, when things are going bad, because the reality is that's what happens when you're at a team where you could, you probably lose or draw more than what you win. That's a fact when you look at, what happens. But, I think it would be a good opportunity for Steven Naismith, that's for sure.
What a week our chief football writer Robert Greaves had. Boyd, he starts with the Derek McInnes to Hearts story. He manages to find time to win the Scottish Football Writers Association Golf Day in midweek, and then he finishes it off at the weekend with the story of QPR and Huddersfield wanting to take Stephen Robinson from his beloved St Mirren. Is Robbo going to break Robert's heart by leaving?
First of all, I'm not surprised he won the Golf Day because he's been playing it often enough recently, that's for sure. But I must say, did you see his knockout punch from his son? Did you see that, when he got knocked out?
Yes.
You wouldn't even show that, would you? That was a low blow. That was a low one from getting KO'd from his son. Take a bit of that, Grieve. But it's a decent week from him, isn't it? It's a decent week.
The Robinson story intrigues me because for a long time you've waited for this moment, Boyd. 3 successive seasons in the top 6 for St Mirren. He's St Mirren's best manager in 40 years. You've just waited for somebody to come and knock the door in Paisley and say, we want to take your manager away. And now looks as if both Queen's Park Rangers and Huddersfield Town are doing that. Can you see Stephen returning down south?
Yeah, I can. To be honest, I think Stephen Robinson's been very clever the way he's mapped his career out, Roger. When you look at, obviously started off as assistant manager, then had a little period of a manager, then he left, and it didn't quite work for him. But then he came back to St Mirren, and he's shown again he's a very good coach. There's no doubt about it. He knows how to win games of football. Getting St Mirren top 6, would you say, 3 times in a row? It's incredible. It really is. When you think of some of our bigger clubs that haven't been anywhere near it, to be honest. And it's not only that, he's another manager that loses players every year. He manages to find more. It's a different environment, a different challenge managing, Huddersfield in League One, QPR and the Championship. Of course it is. But I look at Stephen Robinson and, if there is someone who, in terms of coaching and making players better and getting the best out of people, it's him. And, for me, I think he does deserve another crack down the road. I would imagine he would have been another one that would potentially in the running for the Hearts job as well, Roger.
Yeah.
I know his name was mentioned in some of the reports, but that shows you how well he's done. But for me, he's a player, when you look at, he's a manager, when you look at his players, he gets the best out of them. He does. He gets the best out of them. And season after season, keeps churning out results. And for me, I do think he deserves a crack. But where does that leave St Mirren as well? Because
I was going to ask that. Where does St Mirren go if they were to lose Stephen Robinson?
Robert Grieve, you already have the breaking news.
They might listen. If Billy Bowie's looking for you, St Mirren might come and ask me about Robert Grieve after the week he's had.
Did he need somebody to write the programme?
It'll be a hard act to follow.
Oh, definitely. As I said there, there's a lot more to football management and just what fans see as such. In terms of that, behind the scenes, keeping the place together, on the pitch, dealing with people, dealing with players who might not be playing. And for whatever reason, I think, having spoken to a few people who worked with Stephen Robinson when he was younger, I think it's something he didn't struggle with, but it was, he was a fiery character and he was set on his ways and being successful, and he didn't change a lot. And by the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because I think until you've got yourself to a level, you have to be, I don't know, selfish is probably not the right word, but self-driven and focused, and that tunnel vision to be a success. Whereas now, having spoken to people who are dealing with it, it's totally different. Totally different. There's a far better vibe around Stephen Robinson, around the club, around the people he's dealing with on a regular basis, and that is because he's matured. He has shown now for a period of time what he can do as a manager. There is no doubt in terms of his coaching ability, because having said what I've just said there, in terms of making players better, he's shown he can do that. He loses them, he makes teams better. So for me, it is going to be a hard act to follow. But in football, you just never know what's round the corner, Roger. I think that's why we all love it. I think sometimes when you feel as if your club is struggling, you're down and out, you've lost your manager, you're using players, it always seems to bounce back. And, for Kilmarnock as well, similar story. Derek McInnes took them for the Championship and he stayed up into Europe. And then this season, it's been a bit up and down, but it looks like they're going to finish the season strongly. But they would be two hard acts to follow. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for somebody else to come along, freshen the place up and go again.
What about Rangers? You were there yesterday with Derek McInnes. You saw him beat Aberdeen 4-0. Poor first half, excellent second half. Where are they going? Are they closer to appointing a manager, do you think, a permanent manager?
I really don't know, Roger. I really, really don't know. I think looking at Barry, and I think everybody, connected with Rangers is probably looking at it saying they need to get someone in pretty soon, because there is, the first half performance yesterday it looked as if it was a case of players just going through the motions and it'll be fine. There's a new manager coming in, or there's going to be changes here. It doesn't really matter. Barry obviously had a few words to say at half time, and it was a total different Rangers team in the second half. There was more energy about it, willing to run without the ball, willing to create opportunities for each another, willing to go and close down and not allow Aberdeen out. I think Aberdeen contributed to that because they were really, really, really poor that second half. And I know we'll come on to them in a minute. But, for Rangers, I think that they need to get something sorted pretty soon, because you're now eating into time. You're going to have European Champions League qualifiers to come back to. You need to get this. The last thing Rangers can do is wait till this takeover. Then everybody needs to go through the process again. You would imagine, we're not daft, we speak about the way that football goes in terms of management and players when they move on, but I would imagine when clubs are being taken over as well, there will already be people inside the building working and knowing what needs to be done. So, in terms of, it's not going to be, for example, 2 weeks' time, the takeover's complete, then it's like, we need 3-4 months to go through all this to see what. I'm sure the last 3-4 months they've been going through, they've been doing their due diligence, ready for the takeover. Then they'll have to hit the ground running, and that will be get a manager in, because it can't continue for much longer. Barry's obviously said that he's spoken to them, and rightly so, because he's the man that sits in that manager chair right now, and he will know what's going on in there. So whether Barry is in the running for it longer term, I don't think he is, but the right thing to do is speak with him and communicate with him with what's happening right now, because you can only take his knowledge and understanding of the football club and the players and everybody else, the staff, and what's going on right now, and take that forward and try and improve it. Because once again, we speak about, it's the same things we speak about Rangers every single week, or it has been up until this week. In terms of the types of goals I've lost, in terms of weakness, in terms of everybody being frustrated, blah 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 blah. Yesterday, you felt as if there was a little, especially second half. I thought they defended really well when asked upon. Second half, I know Kess going to get in the first half a couple of times, but other than that, there wasn't really. Papi Gay had that chance down there, but it wasn't really much created from Aberdeen's point of view. But for Rangers, they were clinical in front of goal. Second half, Cyril Dessers with another goal as well. He's been criticised, but again pops up. But for Rangers, the next step for them will be to find a manager and move forward from there. But for Aberdeen, Roger, I don't know what you think, but you look at it now, they've got a cup final on the horizon. For me, and as crazy as this sounds, I still think Jimmy Thelin, as it stands right now, is searching for his strongest team. There was obviously a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes in January, but you look at it and he still seems to be searching for a team. Well, obviously he was trying to finish third. I don't think that's going to be the case now. They've actually got a fight in their hands to finish fourth, because they obviously go to Tannadice that last day of the season. But for me, I just feel as if there's too many changes, too many, whether it's the starting 11, whether it's at half time, whether it's the latter stage. I know everybody makes subs, but Jimmy Thelin seems to do it a lot more often at certain times than a lot of managers.
Yeah, and the criticism is beginning to come in. I watched the game yesterday with you, Boyd. I jumped in the car afterwards. Willie Miller on the radio, very critical. And you look at some of the, the well-known Aberdeen supporters in social media beginning to criticise Jimmy Thelin like never before. It's a huge 10 days for Jimmy Thelin, because he's got Celtic in the league at Pittodrie on Wednesday. He's got a new firm derby at Tannadice on Sunday, and then he's got a Scottish Cup final. This 10 days, or the next fortnight really, is going to be make or break for Jimmy Thelin in his first season. These 10 days will dictate how Jimmy Tillin's first season is looked upon. Yeah,
I mean, if you take Aberdeen and look where they were and what's happened the last couple of years, you can understand that, getting to a final, I mean, they might win it. It's highly unlikely, but they could win it. They've got to another semi-final, obviously lost that. But wherever they finish the league now, for me, unless they get back into Hibs and back above Hibs, there has to be regret, Roger. There has to be. The start they got, they were out the blocks, they were away. I mean, we were sitting here, well, some people were, I must add, some people were saying that, they're challengers for Celtic. Rangers ain't going to get anywhere near them. I said that if you go right back to the start, the fixtures were very kind to them. They'd played teams in Europe at Pittodrie, they'd gotten results, which is totally fine. And I get the fact that you still need to win those games, totally. But that period of time where Aberdeen went that large a chunk without winning a game was the alarm bells for me. Because they kept on doing the same thing. And you're going to get the same results if you keep doing the same thing. And I look at it even yesterday as well. Even at St Mirren a couple of weeks ago, or last week, they keep doing the same things against St Mirren. I mean, Stephen Robinson must be actually licking his lips every time he's playing against Aberdeen. They come down, they play the exact same thing, or St Mirren go up there, play the exact same way, and St Mirren beat them. I mean, it's incredible. You've got to change. You can't just keep doing the same thing. And, for me, looking at it yesterday, I thought they were compact enough the first half, didn't really allow Rangers to ask any questions of them. But do you give it another 10, 15 minutes, then change it, then maybe go and ask the question? Because if you're away from home against one of the bigger teams in the league, whether it's, it doesn't matter where it is, but it was at Ibrox for Aberdeen yesterday. they're going to come out the blocks. If the performance hasn't been that good in the first half, they're going to come out. Why would you change it? Just give it 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, then make the changes, then try and go and win it. It's the same at Pittodrie when Ross McCausland gets sent off as well, and the 2-2 game. The changes there, one substitution led to 3 changes within the team. I mean, it just, I don't know, Roger. I think when you look at it now, the cup final will take care of itself. Wednesday night now for Aberdeen is absolutely huge. Not just for third, because that gives them, you know, a little hope they can still catch up. If Dundee United, if they go to Ibrox and get anything, or it just stays the way it is right now, the level on goal difference as well. So it's going to come down to, I mean, that shootout at Tannadice, they might well go there and win. But if Dundee United have to beat them, then there would be questions. But, you know, top 6, finish 5th, semi-final, final of another one. People could look at it and say, oh, it's been an okay season for Aberdeen. But what you cannot discard, Roger, is the start that Aberdeen had. You can't just ignore that. You can't ignore it.
Yeah. We've got, and listen, I know you're in a rush. I know you're going to a horse show down in Ayrshire today. It's just no rest for the wicked at all, boy. It's been a managerial special. We've touched on McInnes, Naismith, Robinson, Ferguson, Thelin. We couldn't finish. We spoke about Robert Grieve earlier. I read his excellent inside right in the Sun on Sunday yesterday, debating the long-term future of the Celtic manager. Brendan Rodgers looks to be set to win a treble, but he is entering the last season of his deal at Celtic. What will the long-term hold for Brendan? Do you think that sometime between now and the end of next season, he'll sign an extension to stay, or will he do what he said he would do and stay for the 3 years?
I really don't know, Roger. I mean, I'm not. I really don't know, because, you know, you look at Brendan Rodgers. I think he's driven by success. He's driven by improving people. He's driven by, you know, that opportunity to manage at the highest level possible. Is Celtic at the highest level possible for Brendan Rodgers? No, it's not. I mean, you get the Champions League games, and that's where he tests himself. But right now, I mean, he's going to win another treble. He's already won, 2 in the past. You know, so his record in terms of cup competitions in Scotland has been unbelievable. In terms of winning trophies has been unbelievable. So for me, looking at, you know, Celtic and Brendan, I mean, there's no doubt they would want him to stay. There's no doubt that they would want to get him tied down. But, you know, I think Brendan's been pretty open over a period of time now in terms of the amount of years he's been in Glasgow. It is difficult. There is no doubt about it. Even when you're winning, it's difficult. It drains you. That having to get up and go again every single day, every single month, every single seat, whatever way you want to look at it, is difficult. So for me, I don't know. Does he want to keep winning? Does he want to keep challenging himself to win? Does he want to? You know, I think if you go back years ago as well, Brendan always said that he wanted to manage abroad as well. That was always something that he touched upon. Whether that, you know, opportunity arises in the future, we don't know. But Roger, I can't answer it, because, you know, even for Brendan, I think coming back was a big step from him. I mean, it was. I mean, because there was a lot of Celtic, and there still is a lot of Celtic fans hurt by what he done the last time. And I don't think it's pretty easy for Brendan Rodgers to do what he said earlier. I'm here for my 3 years. I'll do my 3 years, and that'll be me. But I don't really think there's any pressure on the football club right now to turn around and then open that can of worms where Brendan Rodgers is then under pressure from the fan. Is he staying? Is he leaving again? So whatever happens, I think we will find out towards the end of. I don't think there'll be any speculation around it. It'll be a case of you're either staying or you're going, because I don't think, you know, Brendan Rodgers, I don't think Celtic can afford to have that negativity where is Brendan staying? Is he going to do what he done to us the last time? Blah 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 blah. I think it'll either be a case of Brendan Rodgers will tell the Celtic hierarchy, listen, I'm done at the end of the season, so start preparing to get a new manager in as of next season, or what's happening here? Am I staying because I then need to start preparing? But whatever happens, I think it'll be a case of if he's leaving, it'll be the end of the season. Thank you very much. I've done my job and that's me. Or if he's staying, I think we'll wake up one morning and he'll sign the new deal. I really do. I don't think there'll be because Celtic fans, you know, they've shown before how quickly they can turn, especially on Brendan Rodgers. I don't think that you know, there will be a period of time where we're left to speculate on this. And I know he's a Celtic manager, everybody's going to have a say on it. But as I said, for me, it'll be a case of we'll wake up one morning and he'll sign a new deal, or at the end of the season he'll say, right, enough's enough, and that's me. But that process, you would like to think, would have been long in the process to allow, you know, Celtic to get their next man in.
Boydie, that's brilliant. I know you've got the jodhpurs on already. I'll let you go and saddle up. You enjoy that horse show today. I'll text you if there's any more managerial movement.
Thank you very much, Roger.